Like every Monday night, you are checking out Breakfast Super Raw.
Bon appetit as Don Tony and Mish dish out their opinions about the world of pro wrestling, sports, news, and pop culture. Breakfast Super Raw.
And now, your host, Mish and Don Tony.
WWE trolled us little attitude style tonight. See, you don't have to be adult entertainment to do a little attitude. Kind of gave me flashbacks to the attitude era. I don't know, but we'll talk about it. Good evening, everybody. It is Monday night. Wow, we're in March already, everyone. Unbelievable. March 1st. 2021. Welcome to this edition of Breakfast Soup Raw. I am Don Tony. He is... I don't hear you.
Maybe I should unmute myself.
There you go. That's all right. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Just, coming off from a weird weekend. Kind of full, kind of busy, but it's all good all the way through. Folks finally got their second vaccination, so everything is good there.
Oh, excellent, man. Excellent.
Yeah. And got a semi-decent episode of Raw tonight. They're kind of going 2 for 2. Last week I found enjoyable, even though there was some, speculation on where they were going with things like Randy and whatnot. But tonight seemed to pull through. There was definitely a lot of positives tonight versus the negatives. I kind of enjoyed tonight, too.
I love everybody out there who is whining about this. Oh, they're crying. They're crying. They're crying because Charlotte wants a shot at WrestleMania. What did you all think was going to happen? Relax. Relax. Rhea Ripley is going to be showing up in a week or so. Relax. All the matches that we've talked about so far, whether you like them or not, seem to be pulling together. And now we just need Brock Lesnar to show up and have Lashley, Drew, Lesnar at Mania, and everything is complete. But speaking of Lashley, I'm telling you, last week when we talked about the match tonight, we said, are we going to see Drew McIntyre interfere? Are we going to see bullshit? Are we going to see... One thing was for certain. You knew Bobby Lashley was being put in the mix. You don't make him lose the United States Championship just to do nothing with in heavyweight title picture. So, especially that Miz had already beaten Drew at Elimination Chamber, it was pretty much a matter of when. When was it going to happen? Now, wouldn't be surprised if we have Lashley and Drew maybe at Fastlane, and then maybe Lesnar shows up. I mean, there's no guarantee with Lesnar, but, we've been talking about Lesnar being added to the mix for about 2 months, you and I. And last week, Vic Joseph and Corey Graves brought up Lesnar being added to the mix. But I tell you, as I said when we first opened up, the Bobby Lashley Miz storyline that was put together tonight on Raw was a lot of Attitude Era. Attitude Era, there would be countdowns, somebody would try to back out of something, and then they would have to get an ultimatum, and then they would tease all night long, and they would try to... this is something that WWE really has missed the boat on for several years now, and that is to really hook people for the full 3 hours. I mean, they would announce a main event early in the night, but it was felt so lackluster that you really were like, eh. And look, I don't blame anybody out there that expected bullshit at the very end tonight, especially when Braun Strowman is lingering, even though it's going to be Braun and Shane. We've been talking about that for a month or so. But no, WWE gave us kind of a little bit of an Attitude Era writing. And again, you don't have to have tits and ass. And yes, MVP said bullshit tonight, but you don't have to have adult entertainment for the B2B attitude. They trolled everybody tonight for 2 hours and 53 minutes. And in the end, I think we're all extremely happy. I'll tell you the one thing I'm a little surprised about is I'm a little surprised that they didn't have a little bit of Bad Bunny, in this, because Bunny and Damian Priest versus Miz and Morrison seems to be where they're going to Mania. You would think that even if Bunny was a lumberjack, let him throw Miz back in the ring before Lashley hits his last move, and then Miz could take it out on Bad Bunny next week. I don't know, what'd you think of the title change? I liked it overall, even though there were a couple of lumberjacks that shouldn't have been out there, but...
Well, I mean, there's a couple of differences that I saw. I didn't see it as WWE trolling everybody for 2.5 hours. I think WWE did a great job, or more say the Miz did a great job of playing the chicken shit heel to the hilt. Jomo helped add on top of that, J-Mo. And it was fantastic reasoning. It was old school style in the sense that Miz went out there, immediately ran away, got DQ'd. You're right when you say that this is very Attitude Era-esque, because that was. And then coming out there and trying to reason with Shane, and Bobby Lashley losing his shit with Shane and losing his shit with MVP, and MVP losing his shit, and then they bring it to the very end with the Lumberjacks, or else you're just stripped of the title. Fantastic. It really was shades of when chicken shit heels would do things like that in order to get out of actual matches. It was a smart way to play it, as opposed to, oh, shucks, he got everybody, ran to the back, and next week we'll have another match. So I was very surprised that they would do 2 in the night like the way that they did. Also, on a side note, I definitely don't think it's going to be Miz and Morrison versus Damian Priest and Bad Bunny anymore.
Okay.
I think after tonight, I think they're leaning towards Elias and, oh, Jesus, what's his name?
Bad Bunny?
Oh, no. Who was with Elias?
Jackson
tonight?
Ryker?
Thank you. I think it's going to be Ryker and Elias versus Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. It just kind of seems like they might go that way.
Maybe. You know what? That's not that bad. Having Jackson Ryker and Elias versus Damian Priest and Bad Bunny, I could see it. I just don't know if Miz stays in this title picture. I don't know about that,
I'm still standing behind the 4-way at Mania. It seems like it's a good idea.
Yeah, 3-way or 4-way.
And if you have multiple people with a claim to the title one way or another, you could have a good 4-way match. And I think somebody even mentioned it last week too, what was it? The last 4-way at Mania was 2000. So this could be an easy way to bring that back. And the idea of Elias versus Damian Priest with Bad Bunny and stuff like that makes sense only because Elias was taking shots at Bad Bunny's music career and blah, blah, blah. So you have the music crossover, plus you have the tag team match. The only interesting thing, or I should say the only segue thing, is what does Bad Bunny do with the 24/7 title? Does he lose that at Mania? Does he lose it before Mania? Is this something, because we know Bad Bunny's not going to be here forever. He's going to have time and then he's going to go away. That's just what celebrities do. But at the same point, you wonder how long he's going to keep it. You wonder how he's going to lose it. I don't even know if the 24/7 title is going to be a Mania issue. It could be.
Oh, it will be. Yeah, it has to be. It has to be. Okay. You'll see segments all throughout the night. I mean, even if there's some of the stuff is pre-recorded, it's got to happen.
Right. Well, it's either Mania or Fastlane.
I think Gronk will probably make a little cameo.
Oh, that could be interesting.
I think Gronk would make a little cameo. Look, you and I have said since the time that Bad Bunny won the 24/7 title, we don't have a problem with it. No. And we're not going to get into all our reasons again. You could check out that episode. But I'll say this: the only thing I don't like about it is suddenly nobody's running after the 24/7 champion anymore. And more importantly, Jackson Ryker is standing outside the ring the entire time versus Elias versus Damian Priest. And Jackson Ryker doesn't try to get the 24/7. I'm just talking storyline. It just looked goofy.
You're totally right. I was even talking about that with Tink even earlier tonight. I was like, it's crazy. He's got the championship belt, which is defendable at all times, and nobody's coming after the guy. No one's coming after him. So you're dead on with that point. I noticed that tonight. They're going to have to fix that somehow, even if Damian Priest steps in and defends Bad Bunny, which I kind of hope he doesn't do, but of course they might do that for the storyline of it. You know what I mean? But at the same point, yeah, Bad Bunny needs a defense. He needs at least one defense.
I'll tell you this. No, I wouldn't have one. No, not before Mania. You got to save that. I mean, maybe
you have a little run-in. I'm not talking about something huge, man. I'm talking about like a little run-in. I don't know. Maybe R-Truth tries something and then changes his mind. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about an actual defense where he's in the ring trying to...
a couple of pin attempts.
Right. You got to do something hokey with it because that's what makes that belt special, is those little segments in the back. And right now, even though Bad Bunny has it and we don't have a problem with it, I do have a problem with the way he's carrying it. Because like you said, and like I even noticed earlier, he's not defending it and nobody's challenging him for it. Why not?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I'll tell you, getting back to the Lashley Miz thing at the end, if you want to try to incorporate a little Attitude Era, if people don't know what I'm talking about, you could picture... See, they had to do Lumberjacks tonight because they don't have that one icon person in the back. And I'm not talking about Drew McIntyre. If this was Attitude Era and you had Lashley and Miz out there and Miz was trying to get away, like if you pictured live fans there and close your eyes, I guarantee everybody will agree with me 100%. You hear that glass break and Austin walks down that aisle and stuns Miz and does, that's kind of similar what they did when Foley won the championship. Like you could see that aspect of it, but they had, look, the Lumberjack idea I liked. Couple of things I didn't like was, why would Retribution come out there? To me, that looked asinine. Not only that, Riddle, who just had the match with Ali and the Lucha House Party, they're literally walking a couple of people behind each other. They just had this for a few minutes earlier. And then another thing is, like, Lashley has been beating, pardon my French, Lashley's been beating the fuck out of Riddle for the last month or so. Remember those just destruction. And Riddle is sitting in, loving every minute of it. He's loving Lashley. And to me, I was like, I don't know. That was like a little bit goofy. It's not Lashley or Miz's fault. But Retribution out there was kind of, to be honest with you. I think that was kind of goofy.
They had to move it along. You can't have Lashley continue to beat down Riddle. Riddle is now second class.
Riddle shouldn't have been so excited, I think.
Lashley is actually going for the world title. He's in an upper card picture. He's in the main event picture. Why is he going to go after low-level Riddle right now?
I'm saying the opposite. Like, why would Riddle be so into Lashley beating the shit out of Miz after Lashley pretty much left him for dead for numerous... But then again, you know what? Riddle's character, he's like a stoned airhead beach bum.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he probably doesn't even remember that he fought Riddle.
Yeah. No, you're right. He doesn't even know.
Yeah, he's high. He's high, as Octavio said. He's high. He's high. But I tell you, good for WWE doing this because this is the road to WrestleMania. Everything that's happening now is setting up WrestleMania. I know there's a lot of you out there, like I said earlier, that are very upset at this. Let it play out a little bit. You know she's going to have a match at Mania. You know she's going to be involved with Asuka. Who would you have instead? You're going to say Rhea Ripley, everybody. Well, Rhea Ripley has not been even introduced on the Raw roster yet officially, so it's too soon for that. And so you have Rhea Ripley you could see it. Charlotte confronts Asuka, and then Rhea Ripley's music hits. She comes out, and she says she's got unfinished business with Charlotte from last year, and then it ends up probably the three-way. I think people need to be relaxing a little bit.
Right, that would be the best, but more people would prefer if Charlotte would just be gone and it would end up being Rhea Ripley versus Asuka, or Shayna Baszler versus Rhea Ripley. I'm not sure which direction they want to go, but people are so ready for Rhea Ripley. It kind of has me concerned for the women's Raw roster, because it's kind of saying that nobody's done a really good job of carrying the ball over on Raw enough that there would be somebody else that's been on the roster to challenge at WrestleMania.
It doesn't help when Nia Jax squashes Naomi tonight. Just squash. Flat out squash. No. And Charlotte... Good.
Naomi's nowhere near the level of even Nia Jax. Look, as far as a wrestler, of course she is. But as far as the way that she's been booked and as far as where she is on the ladder, she's not in the same level as Nia. She's not on the same level as Shayna. No way. Shayna and Nia are just one step away from the main event picture. Naomi's got a while to go. And if anything, it was more unique to see Nia talking more trash to Lana out there, when you kind of thought that this feud was already done and over with after Royal Rumble.
Oh, they got to get the Fastlane match. They set up them having an opportunity. They got to do the Fastlane match.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like they got to go that way. Well, by the way, Crazy Cruiserweight, thank you very much, my friend. Ricochet over Tozawa. Mansoor over... Ooh, okay. All right. Main event results. Mansoor beat Drew Gulak. I mean, that doesn't say a lot for Drew Gulak, but nice to see Mansoor getting a little bit. I like Mansoor, man. I think this guy, enough seasoning. I actually think he can put it together. He's likable. I like the guy.
Yeah, he's got a good one.
Yeah,
he handled himself well.
Soulfly says WWE delivered for us. They didn't give us shenanigans. Oh, they did for, in my opinion, for a couple of hours. And the reason why I say that is you look at WWE for the last bunch of years. You know what would have likely happened tonight? This similar to what happened last week. Daniel Bryan, if he beats Uso, he gets a shot at Roman Reigns and ends up with a bullshit finish. Oh, now we're gonna have a match for another week. So we've brought this up before, that SmackDown and Raw mirror each other in a lot of storylines. And this is kind of the same thing, where they blew it off for an extra week to set up the match. And now Daniel Bryan, he gets another match with Jey Uso, which to me is kind of stupid, because you just had Elimination Chamber. You had Elimination Chamber, and you go from Elimination Chamber to a cage match.
Right.
The Elimination Chamber is for the WWE opportunity for the WWE Championship, and then 2 weeks later, you're having a cage match for the opportunity for the WWE Championship. I don't know.
Because you're keeping it within the family, and it also proves that Jay can take on Daniel Bryan by himself without the interference of other people. There's some more to that. There's more meat to that bone than we're letting on, because even though the Elimination Chamber is technically a cage, it's a cage with other people. It's not like it's a one-on-one thing. Roman gave him the job of taking out Daniel Bryan one-on-one. So that's what we're going to see. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Rep, remember that picture with the dogs? I don't know if I have it handy. That look of one of the dogs. Do I have it handy? I should have it handy. It should stand out like a sore thumb. I got to see if I could find it, because I'm giving you that look right now. I don't have it handy. I got that look right now. Oh, man, I wanted to pull it up so bad, too. Oh, you know what? Persistence pays off. Persistence pays off. It's got to show up. I think it's going to show up. It'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. Damn it. Yeah. Forget it. I thought I had the picture handy. I know it's going to happen. As soon as we finish the show, I'll find it. But, I have this look right now on your face, like that Miz girl look. Nobody here said they're going back to the Attitude Era. Nobody said that at all. All right. In fact, I have been saying for years and years and years that people that think, when Alexa Bliss has got her shirt off and somebody walks in the locker room and she's got her hands off her breasts, all these goofs, I'm like, they're bringing back Attitude Era. They're bringing back Attitude Era. Somebody says a curse word once in a blue moon. They're bringing back Attitude Era. Like I said at the beginning of the show, listen. Don't just hear, but listen. Attitude Era doesn't have to be adult entertainment. Doesn't have to be tits or ass. There was a formula. There was a boatload of trolling in the Attitude Era. That was the hook. The hook. Not just announcing a main event at the beginning of the night and keep seeing backstage segments of somebody lacing their boots, straightening out their jacket, looking in their locker room, just pacing back and forth, thinking about their match, pondering, looking up at the sky like this. No, they would troll. They would kind of make you think that it wasn't going to happen and it wasn't going to happen and it wasn't going to happen. But in the end, most of the times, it did happen. And that's why people are having such a great time tonight. It's not about Miz losing the championship. And I'll tell you why. And I don't know if you agree with me, Mish. For the last 7 days, Miz has been getting a lot of positive feedback from fans out there saying, you know what? Guy does great at what he does. He is a troll. He's in the perfect spot at the perfect time because we're leading into Mania. Like, people really were not bitching all that much about Miz being a champion. If anything, people are saying, you know what? I'd rather have Miz the champion right now than Drew McIntyre. Unfortunately, that's a lot of people are saying. So tonight is not about being upset or that Miz lost or being ecstatic that Miz lost. No, tonight was about Lashley winning. There's a big difference. Okay, I'll use the presidential election. I don't like bringing up politics anymore, but I'll use that as an example. All right. Joe Biden got the highest amount of votes in the history of politics. Highest amount. And Trump got 75 million. But there is a boatload of people out there. No, I'm not going the fraud route. There's a boatload of people out there that think that a huge chunk of Biden's votes were not because people wanted Joe Biden to be president. It's because they did not want Trump to be president. There's a big difference there. And tonight was not about Miz losing. This was about Bobby Lashley winning.
Right.
And and I think a lot of people will agree on this, that WWE for the last couple of years, their track record would have been bullshit finish, Drew interferes, Braun interferes, something dick move happens, and then next week at Fastlane, it'll be in a cage or Morrison blam from ringside, and if Miz gets disqualified or if he leaves or is counted out, he loses the title. They would have set this up for Fastlane. Instead, they gave us the result tonight. And that's why I say it reminds me so much of Attitude Era. Because Attitude Era, the one thing that they did probably better than anything else was, as far as Raw, was to hook you in the beginning and keep your interest throughout the night. There was something hooking you or drawing you in for the remainder of that night. Not every episode, but some big meaningful storylines, they would hook you and draw you. And I'm telling you, I will see, it's weird because I almost want to say, you know what, I wouldn't be surprised if you see the hours of Raw, the 3 hours of ratings. But you know what? I think a lot of fans out there expected bullshit in the end. And that might be the reason why maybe fans didn't stay consistent throughout the night. Something tells me that I think fans out there were hoping for the best. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it was more planned than that. I think that the whole reason that they mentioned the 9 o'clock hour and the 10 o'clock hour was specifically to make sure that fans were watching at 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock. It's specifically for the ratings, for the actual measurement. They could have said 9:15. They could have said 9:07. They could have said 10:03. They could have said whatever they wanted to, but they specifically told the top of the hour. And the announcers kept talking about, well, we're going to have the match at the top of the hour. They were making it very clear that they wanted to make sure that you were watching at the correct times. It was more of it felt more formulaic than it did random and off the cuff, and that's fair. I'm sure most people didn't see it the same way that I did, but I realized what they were doing, and it was fine. It was smart. It made sense to the storyline. I had no problem with it.
look at Joe Punch's super chat. He's turning 36 on Friday. Happy birthday, my friend. 35 to 36 was a tough year. Absolutely. We helped him through some pretty crappy shit. Tonight's Raw made him happy. Miz was a legit chicken shit. I added the shit. Heel. Great ending. Hurt Locker looked legitimately happy for Bobby Lashley. That's what it's about, man. Moments like this don't come that often on Raw or SmackDown. It really doesn't. You don't, especially with SmackDown being a big TV deal. You know, if anything, you might see something major happen on SmackDown. This was excellent tonight, man. I absolutely, like I said, I know that there's a lot of fans out there that probably felt they're not going to give us. They're going to, some bullshit's going to happen. And maybe that's why they didn't stick around.
I'm kind of happy, and not just because Joe Punches is turning 36 on Friday. But no, he's got a good point. You know, they've been doing really good on Raw for the last couple of weeks. They have a direction. Even the Randy Orton stuff. Dude, I heard so many people bitching about how stupid is the Randy Orton stuff. It's supposed to be campy, people. This whole fucking Bray Wyatt storyline has been campy since day one. The Bray Wyatt-Randy Orton feud has been campy with the Fun House of Horrors match. You know, like, it's an ongoing thing. And while some people like the puppets, other people hated the fucking puppets. Some people like the Fireflies. Other people hated the fucking Fireflies. That's context. It depends on the context of what you're talking about. In this scenario, though, the Randy Orton stuff is hilarious, and they've done good the entire night. I think there was only a couple things I didn't like. I don't care about the Riddle stuff. Riddle can go away. You know, I'm pretty much done with that guy. But overall, it was a very good night. I appreciated it. Thank you.
See, I'm always persistent when we do these shows. RJ, that look I wanted to give you before was the look on the right. That's the look I wanted to give you. When you were like, oh, Attitude Era ain't coming back. We know it's not coming back. It shouldn't come back. It would be so much controversy. It's not coming back. But Joe's statement says it all, man. And you know what? Octavio, he loves the Attitude Era, but at some point we move on. I agree with you, man. You know, we're in 2021. You know, what we saw, and for younger fans out there, and I know Mish will agree with me on this, what we saw in the Attitude Era reflected society at the time. It really did. It reflected society. You look at society today where they want to take Mr. off the name Potato Head, where the Muppets need a disclaimer. By the way, I can't take credit for this, but I know some of you out there DM me and like, oh, he now has Muppets up there because of the controversy. No, the Muppets been up there for months and months and months. I am a fan of the Muppets. But, you know, this society, you know, the wrestling reflected society. That's why ECW became so popular, because at that time Ultimate Fighting was in its infancy and everything extreme this, extreme that, and it was just so today society the way it is, cancel culture, whether you like it or not, or PC, you know, wrestling is going to reflect that. You know, you'll get some moments where it goes outside the line, but it quickly gets reeled back in. So, yeah, I agree with you, Octavia. I mean, the wrestling has moved on from the Attitude Era, but there is no reason why you can't go back, you know, to some formats and like, hey, you know, remember when we used to do this? Let's try this. You know, not everything in the Attitude Era was rated, you know, for TV 14, or, you know, if you want to go a little bit further. Daniel-san thinks that Lesnar versus Lashley is shaping up. Drew McIntyre is going to be included in that. When Raw opened up tonight, and I guess we could get into, you know, obviously when we do a Raw recap, you know, we segue. We don't have to do everything in order. But when it opened up tonight, Drew McIntyre's promo before he had his match with Sheamus was simple. I didn't, you know, win at the Performance Center and do everything I did all year long to not, you know, have that title or go for the title at WrestleMania. Drew McIntyre will be in the heavyweight title match at WrestleMania. Period. And I think, it's not that infamous poster of Austin, Michaels, Tyson. Yes, Tyson and wrestle, but that's an infamous poster. This is like Clash of the Titans. And I've said this before, Lesnar, McIntyre, Lashley. Or Lashley in the middle. Lesnar, McIntyre. You want to put Braun Strowman in there, even though I think Shane McMahon is going to be his, And let's also realize, too, when Braun got on the mic tonight saying that, he's been screwed and, they didn't put him in this. And Braun Strowman's been pretty much injured for the last, I think last week might have been his first match since October.
Right.
So he's been injured. So right now, they don't have any concrete storyline for him. And they don't want him in the heavyweight title picture right now. So, if he wouldn't have been injured, I could see Strowman being put in there too. Could you imagine those four maniacs, how big they are? They got some big boys. We've always talked about that. But if you think about this, I argue maybe that this might be like the biggest number of big men than I can remember. I mean, look, WWF, when Hogan was champ, you had King Kong Bundy, you had Kamala, you had One Man Gang, Big John Studd, Big Boss Man. Yeah, but you think about this right now, and you think about big men. I put Dijakovic in there. I put Mace in there. Otis. You go down the list. Mark Henry's pretty much retired, but they got a shitload of big men now, and big men that could work. Warlord's another one. Absolutely. So I agree with you. Lesnar, I think you got to put Lesnar in there. I mean, what do you think? If you had the choice right now, Lashley versus Drew, or Lashley versus Drew versus Lesnar?
Well, I would probably make it Lashley versus Drew versus Lesnar versus Miz. I think that's your money match. I think even though Miz is a chicken shit heel, he absolutely deserves that WrestleMania moment. He absolutely deserves to be one of the guys in the four-way. And honestly, as much as I love Lesnar, Lashley's on fire right now. If you put Lesnar in there, it's only to make Lashley look like more of a badass. Because Lesnar's not going to be the guy that's going to be carrying in 2021. He's not. Right now, you've got a lot of fire behind Lashley. It would almost be silly, absolutely silly, if Lashley doesn't walk out of WrestleMania with gold. It would be a silly moment because it's not just the minute part of the internet that's behind Lashley. There is a vocal majority that really want to see Lashley win this belt. Well, I'm sorry, retain this belt at this point.
Right.
Sorry. Yes. Which is a big thing, which is obviously talking about what happens later on tonight. But I will say something about Drew. And I know we haven't gotten to that match yet, but I guess we might as well just jump into it.
Yeah.
Drew McIntyre probably had one of his best matches in his entire career tonight with Sheamus. Those two guys went out there and just clobbered the living shit out of each other. I think it was past the first commercial break before they even utilized a wrestling move. I think, what was it, a backbreaker was the first wrestling move that they did. Everything else was punch, kick, choke, slap, chop into the corner, short arm clothesline in the very beginning. Like, it was a very physical match from the beginning. Obviously, they started with them battling outside of the ring, which was really good to watch. They had the refs try and pull them apart. They're fucking throwing the refs off, go fuck yourself, and they're going back at each other, pounding each other. Sheamus goes over the barricade. These guys are fighting like they hate each other. Exactly what you want to see in a blood feud. Exactly what you want to see between two guys that there's no titles on the line, there's no prestige on the line, it's not a number one contenders match. This is a match between two people that have a fucking gripe. And they went out there and they kicked the shit out of each other for 3 commercial breaks, and it was great. And I didn't stop watching from the beginning to the end. It was a fantastic match, something that I never would have believed that Drew and Sheamus, two of my not favorites, would have been capable of doing. But I was very impressed. It was a good match. And even the announcer said it, I'm not sure who said it, but somebody said that this is a pay-per-view caliber match, and it's on a weekly, or it's on Raw, but it's
Tom Phillips.
It was a pay-per-view caliber match, and it absolutely was. He was 100% correct. If they would have shown this at Fastlane or even at WrestleMania, it would have been a good match to have on the card. It was great. It was a surprise. I don't know if this is the end of it. In one sense, after seeing tonight, I'm kind of hoping that they push it forward. But knowing that there's a title hunt in the picture and everything else, I don't know how much further they're going to go with this.
Well, I'll say this. I loved it. It went to like 8:45 p.m.
Yeah,
I mean, 45 minutes in, and this match was still on. I mean, officially it was about 30 minutes, but they had the opening. But I'll say this. You and I, for a long time, thought that Drew and Sheamus were going to have a pay-per-view match one-on-one. Didn't happen. Now, with the change in direction, with Lashley being the champion, I agree with you. I would have loved to have seen this at Fastlane. However, another side of me says they wouldn't have given them 30 minutes if they had the match at Fastlane. So, especially at Fastlane, it's probably only going to be 2.5 hours. I don't think they would have gotten the time like they got tonight. So, honestly, the fact that WWE, since there's no title on the line, the fact that they gave them this amount of time tonight tells me that this was, and I know some people will agree with me and some may not, but I almost feel like this tonight was WWE's gift to Drew and Sheamus.
Maybe.
To say, you know what, they are close in real life. They have, been up and down the road together for decades. And you know what? These two guys wanted to look, that's very close friends. If I was wrestling and had a match, and I always wanted to face one of my best friends and never really got the opportunity to really go balls out. I mean, 5-minute match here, 3 minutes, 7 minutes, or match with multiple other people, yeah, but one-on-one and just really leave it out there. It felt like tonight, like, okay, tonight's the night. You two go 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Tear it up. And I guarantee you, I personally
sweating all over the place. Seriously, I don't remember the last time I've seen Drew and Sheamus. Sheamus was sweating so much that his hair flopped around the sides of his head. I was laughing my ass off at it. That they were just drenched in sweat. Sheamus had welts going around the back, what was it, by his liver or his kidney or something like that? Giant welts on his back. Drew McIntyre's shoulders had just big old punch marks in them. These guys didn't look like they were having let's go out there and have our 8-minute Raw match. These guys went out there and they had themselves a pay-per-view fucking match. This was an event, it's so weird because I'm just still blown away that it's two guys I don't expect this caliber of fun to come from. And they put on a clinic to open the fucking show at that. It was great. It was great.
I'll say this. I will bet any amount of money that 5-10 years from now, when you see these guys get interviewed, whether it's a broken skull session or something else, and they say favorite match, would not be surprised if one or both of them, I mean, look, Drew winning WWE Championship obviously was a big deal too, but I would not be surprised if one or both of these men go back to tonight's match and say, the night I fought, blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you, they're going to look back at this match and it's going to be in their top 3 matches of all time.
I believe it. For those two, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Rep, we're going to talk about the tournament on Wednesday because obviously it's not been finalized yet. We'll talk about that on Wednesday. By the way, I noticed somebody mentioning about Albany, New York, having power outage. Before we went live, I picked up my microphone and I put it towards my window. Why did I do that, Mish?
Wind.
the wind that is going on over here right now, I don't know what the hell is going on outside. I haven't looked, but we have insane winds, and I'm kind of like nervous that we may lose power. However, Wednesday, Verizon Fios is coming here. I'm getting Fios after 20 years of wanting Fios. I'm finally getting it. They installed all their shit, wasn't available until a month ago. So once I get Fios, it's over. We'll have no more buffering ever. For anybody that is familiar with Spectrum, you know that the upload speeds, the best is 20 megabytes a second. Fios is 700. So we'll have no problems with that anymore. So that match was freaking phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Loved it. Very, I know you and I were disappointed that they never had their one-on-one for the title of the pay-per-view. But you know what? If they gave us this instead tonight, I'll take it. I'll take it. Because tonight's episode, it was fun, and I think it also needed that one signature match for people to be like, even though Lashley winning the title was awesome, Drew and Sheamus just tore it up for 40 minutes.
It did.
It did. Good. It was awesome, man.
I saw that somebody was talking about MVP. I think one of the donors, super chatters, was saying, will we give some love to MVP also from this? Look, MVP deserves a lot of love tonight, but honestly, I don't think his big role was dealing with when he came out there with the Sheamus and Drew McIntyre bit. I think his big role, and first off, real quick, kudos to MVP. He has a styling cane. Did you see that badass cane that he had?
Yeah.
That is fucking sweet as hell. I can see that being his signature, kind of like Jimmy Hart with the horn and Paul Bearer with the urn. Man, if MVP starts strutting around with that cane everywhere he goes, that's going to be his thing. Dude looked fucking stylish.
It's classy, man.
Anyways, but MVP's big moment tonight was dealing with Shane. His big moment was dealing with Bobby Lashley tonight. Him being the cooler head and losing his cool tonight was fucking big. He's just great out there. He's been such a positive force to help change the dynamic of the way Lashley has been over the last few weeks that you almost have to credit a lot of Lashley's success to the way that MVP in storyline has guided the man. Maybe even in personal real life. I'm not sure about that. But in storyline, MVP has a lot to be thankful for, or a lot to be thanked for, because of the way that he's directed Lashley. Now that Lashley has gold, Hurt Business is going to do even better for themselves.
There's a lot of things we could criticize WWE for with their writing. I mean, my God, look at social media every week. There's always stuff written. But you have to admit that how they used MVP and even Lashley for the last 3, 4, 5 months, I mean, they've done it right. And obviously, and we've always said this too, the wrestlers have to also present it in the ring. They're given the opportunity, and they have to sometimes turn chicken shit into chicken salad. And MVP and Lashley, definitely bright moments of the last 6 months on TV. Hurt Business, everything about it. And I'll tell you, this might be a stretch. I don't know if anybody feels the same way, but I think the turning point of the Hurt Business and the turning point of Lashley especially, MVP too, but I think the turning point of that group is when WWE did that storyline where the Hurt Business stepped up to confront Retribution. Yeah. This was a heel group, confronted another heel group, and Hurt Business came off as badass. Remember, they didn't care. Like, they were just looking for a good fight and ass whipping. And a lot of people are like, I'm into the Hurt Business right now. Like, they backed up. See, that's the difference.
Wait. The big problem was before that Retribution storyline, DT, they were picking on interns in the back.
Oh, they were still doing that.
Yeah, but it was different. Once they went out up against Retribution, now it wasn't, hey, we're baby faces or heels. Now it's we're our own thing, no matter what you think of us. And I think that's where the cool factor came in. When you can't classify the cool factor came in. When you can't classify what the Hurt Business is. If the Hurt Business is a baby face to you, that's fine. They can be heels to somebody else. That's what kind of established them as the next level because they are their own entity. But before that, they were atypical. They were pretty atypical. They were doing a lot of very characteristic heel-like things before Retribution.
The Hurt Business was being bullies before the Retribution storyline.
Right.
They were still a little bullying after, but you kind of like digged it.
Yeah, afterwards, it was because they're just doing it for their own amusement as opposed to they're doing it to try and instill that we're the bad guys and you're supposed to be afraid of us. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's the difference. When they went out there against Retribution and fought Retribution after that, now when they pick on people, it's not like we're trying to instill fear. It's more like, we're doing it because it gets our job.
Yeah, with the Hurt Business. We're supposed to hurt things.
Right.
And honestly, even though Retribution seems like it was doomed from the start, but when they clashed, it's like, okay, they clashed, Hurt Business, Retribution. That's what happened.
Right.
That's how it went. So, just want to bring up a couple of the super chats. You know, speaking of feuds with the Hurt Business, yeah, I got to mention this with Marcus. My God. I mean, you know, I just realized it. We didn't even get AJ Styles tonight. Wasn't even needed. Think about that. AJ Styles wasn't even needed tonight. We didn't have any, you know, remnants of Ricochet, which is kind of terrible. So, but thank you, AS7607. There's reports going around right now that Jim Crockett Jr. is in grave condition, hospitalized. So keep him in your prayers. You know, last week was a shitty week for wrestling. Question mark passed. DK Meadows, which was a local guy here in Jersey, young guy. I don't know his exact age, or DK Meadows, Daquan Meadows. He passed, but question mark passed. And, you know, I know you especially. Honestly, I thought about you when I first heard about it because how big you are of an NWA fan and the question mark. And it's like, you know what? I think their announcement that's coming, that they're going to be returning the tapings, I think, as corny as this sounds, I would not, what would be the right way to put this? I would not be surprised if Billy Corrigan, in the announcement of NWA returning the tapings, if somewhere in there he says something of the sort like, we owe this to the question mark. We owe this to Joseph Hudson. Not saying that NWA goes on because of it. Obviously, you don't kill or keep a promotion based on that. But I have a feeling that this was done. You know, it was in the plans already. But I think you're going to see this turn into a little bit of a tribute and, you know, just make everybody proud. You know?
I look forward to seeing what comes out of the NWA camp. I mean, I don't know how closely you've been following, but
I've been following. Yeah,
they've removed all of their Carney land. They removed all of their NWA power. Their Patreon, I think, has been shut down as well. So they've been closing a lot of doors. But there is that new news that there is something coming out of that. I don't know if that means that the NWA is shuffling over to a new owner, or if somebody has purchased the current NWA library, or if they're just removing it for some odd reason, maybe to put it on a DVD and sell it off in order to make some sales. I'm not 100% sure. But there has been a lot of motion, I mean, besides the passing of Josephus, but, you know, there's been a lot of motion as far as the NWA goes recently, and I guess it raises a lot of questions because we've seen many of their talent go to different companies, from WWE to AEW. There's a lot of people that needed to work, and NWA wasn't providing that at the time. So I'm very curious what Billy and Nick Aldis managed to do together. Once again, Nick Aldis is still the champion too, by the way. So there are presumable ideas that they can go forward. We're just not really sure what with. So
Ring of Honor or MLW. And I'm leaning towards Ring of Honor. I think we're going to see like a little bit of a feud. I think we're going to see the incorporation of that. NWA has been wiped out of a lot of their talent. I mean, you know, it's not official that Thunder Rosa is AEW only, but they've been wiped out of a lot of people. And even if you see some people come back in for a little bit, I don't think it's permanent. So we'll wait for the announcement and we'll see what happens. But regardless of that, Ricochet still no momentum, which is, it's sad, man. It's pretty sad. You think about, you know, like just Ricochet. You know, WWE did that. I still think about that 24, that WWE Network piece that they did on him. And man, you really thought that this, especially in WWE does these now, it's usually somebody's about to get skyrocketed. They just did the one with Bianca. They just released the one on Big E. And it's intentional because these talents are about to get the jets behind their back. And Ricochet just seems like it never amounted to much.
Ricochet needs to learn the same things that people like Jeff Hardy, that people like Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, people like AJ Styles learned. Because, look, Daniel Bryan in ROH was not a very big promo guy. That was something that people agreed on, that he's learned in his time in WWE. Same thing with AJ Styles. AJ Styles had a couple of moments when he was in TNA, but for the most part, wasn't a great promo guy. Now he's out there cutting shtick, and he's hilarious at it. Ricochet is a guy who needs a gimmick, needs a little bit of practice, and needs to learn how to talk. And I think that the guy's in-ring talent speaks volumes of what he's possible to do, but they need to give him a character. It's more than just an ongoing joke at this point of trying to figure out what is Ricochet's character. Ricochet needs to find something that symbolizes him, that he can take with him to the public, that he can take with him to Raw, to SmackDown, to wherever he wants to go, so that he can actually translate that into his matches, into his performances. Because right now, he is create a wrestler. He is the blue or green character before you actually put anything into the video game. He is as generic of a gimmick as they come. There is nothing to the guy. And it's sad. It's absolutely sad because the guy is capable of amazing feats in the ring. But if there's nothing in the entertainment side, he's just not going to work. And WWE is just going to renege on him.
Do you think, Phil Maffey wants to know, do you think Miz would get a proper WWE title run in the future? Not anytime soon. Not anytime soon. We're into WrestleMania season. You know, maybe when WrestleMania calms down a little bit, you know, anything could happen. I mean, you know, honestly, he did his role the last month almost perfectly.
Oh, dude's flawless. He is literally the best chicken shit heel. And I know that's almost like an insult, but it's not an insult because he's cowardly, but he's conniving. He's smart and clever, but he's underhanded. He has no problems letting people take the fall for him. He believes in working smart, not hard. That's his character. His character is a guy who wins at any cost, as long as that cost doesn't mean that it's his body on the line, which makes him such an interesting. Dude, when he was begging off last week, I was laughing my ass off. He was literally begging off from Bobby Lashley. Like Bobby Lashley was going to take him out back and club him in the fucking knees for not paying up. That's the kind of like promo that they had. Miz was like, oh. And I'm just laughing my ass off. I'm like, wow, this is good character work by The Miz. I was very impressed because Miz literally looked like Lashley was going to tear him a new asshole. And Lashley doing the smart thing, looking like he was going to tear Miz a new asshole. So I have no problem with The Miz. I think The Miz is fantastic. He's a guy that doesn't need the title. And that's
exactly.
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 That's behind the scenes. behind the scenes, Miz is a guy who never needs the title because he's so good at making everybody else look good with the title.
Yeah. Jay Carlos, he loved the hook tonight. Wasn't hooked like this in a long time. I'm telling you, man, seriously, I know some younger viewers out there that weren't around the Attitude Era. It's not your fault, obviously. And we're not trying to act like, oh, we witnessed it, you didn't. My point is that when you have some older fans out there that understand that hook that WWE used to do. There was a hook. I mean, WCW did it as well. But unfortunately, towards the end of WCW, the hook was horrendous because the hook would just lead to the hook. When you got hooked with WCW, like in the past with the Attitude Era with WWF, when you got the hook, like I said, you'd have Austin's music hit and people would go nuts. You'd have The Rock's music hit, people would go nuts. You'd have other people's music hit, people go nuts. In WCW, the hook instead was, at the beginning of the night, they would start hooking something, you'd be like, oh God, no, please, no. Please, 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 oh God, no. Oh, motherfucker. That's how you ended up towards the latter part of WCW. On WWF, though, they would hook. You know, look, and sometimes the hook, I'll tell you, the most infamous hook for me, the most infamous one for me was when Vince McMahon was going to take on Steve Austin one-on-one for the first time. And if any of you out there have never seen that whole episode of Raw, go on the WWE Network or go on, Google for a search and search out that episode. Maybe someone in the chat room would be so kind to look up that date for when it was Mr. McMahon versus Vince for the first time one-on-one, and they hooked that shit all night long. And I was just pulled in. Someone will pull it up. But yeah, I think some people will understand, that hook. It's funny. I think the hook is probably one of the biggest things we're missing in wrestling, period. That hook, you get it, in little spurts, but not a real. Tonight felt like it meant something. And WWE, give them credit to the announcers all night long when they were pushing how historic this episode is. They use terms like that all the time. But I'll say this for everybody tuning in right now: think of this tonight. Think of how you would have felt if that match would have ended with a bullshit finish and Miz was still champion. How would you have felt if Drew came out there and got involved? Something tells me I think everybody would turn on Drew.
I think you're right there. I think people would have turned on Drew a little bit because everybody wanted to see Lashley win. But if Miz got out of it again, if Miz slithered his ass out of another ass beating by Lashley,
set up for Fastlane.
I think it would have made Miz look good too, though.
Yeah, it would have made Miz look good, but it would have pissed off a lot of fans. It would have pissed off a lot of fans tonight.
Okay. Would it be the bad pissed off, or would it be the pissed off where people plunk down?
Bad pissed off. Bad pissed off. It would have felt like WWE is crying wolf.
Yeah, but it's a Raw. It's not a pay. If they did this,
I know. But
Raw,
the way they hype this shit up, sometimes you got to deliver. You could troll, but sometimes you get in a situation where you really got to deliver. I think they would have pissed off a ton of fans tonight that just felt like crying wolf. Yeah. Hyping all this shit up for a bullshit finish.
If you did this at the pay-per-view, I would totally agree with everybody that would be a bad pissed off. You don't do shit like that at events. I would have totally agree. I hate DQs at events. They're cacas. I hate countouts at events. They're cacas. But this on a Raw, I don't know. I would have had the feeling like, oh, man, he's escaped 3 times now. That 4th time is going to be an ass whooping and a half. You know what I mean? I would have almost felt like whatever they have planned for Lashley and Miz next week or at Fastlane was going to be insane. You know what I mean? I'm not unhappy that Lashley took it tonight, and I like how they kind of wrapped up that whole storyline with Shane McMahon tonight, like you said multiple times. Very much a throwback to the Attitude Era. But Miz holding on to it a little bit longer, that's because the Miz is good at being that character. If it was somebody that wasn't the Miz, if it was somebody that wasn't capable of being that level of a slime ball and that level of being clever, I would have been like, well, that's hokey as shit. Miz is smarter than that. Miz has had the title multiple times. Miz has been the Money in the Bank guy multiple times. This is not something out of the realm of Miz being capable of doing. Of fucking over Bobby Lashley? I don't know. I would have been okay with it. I'm still fine with what happened tonight. Lashley deserves to hold that title. But I would have been okay with Miz holding on to it for a little bit longer.
You know what? Makes Bruce Mitchell look like a total dick for this last week. And for my audio-only friends out there, Bruce Mitchell last week tweeted, and I quote, "Black guy does the work, white guy gets to pay." And he actually wrote hashtag Black History Month. Seriously. I mean, oh, what a you're a dick. Seriously, you're a dick. I never, 20 some odd years doing this, never really talked about the guy at all. Now I'm convinced that this guy's just a dick. You know, Bruce Mitchell, you know, that asshole that demanded we know why Brody Lee died and all that stuff. The guy used to write for The Torch.
Right. I know exactly who he is. And now he's a guy who's trying to sit there and claim more racism and unfairness. And it's like, dude, that's just, it's a reach. People are enjoying Bobby Lashley beating the shit out of The Miz. This isn't some underground conspiracy to hold anybody down based upon the color of their skin. They're telling a fucking story. Give them longer than a week to tell a fucking story, Bruce. Jesus Christ.
You think there's any chance he tweets tonight that, oh, they should have gave the belt to Lashley during Black History Month?
Oh,
I'm not saying he's good at, but I wouldn't be surprised if he wrote something stupid like that. What a dick.
I don't mean this offensively to anyone, but does it matter if Bobby Lashley won the belt on the 28th or the 1st?
No.
Doesn't it just matter that Bobby Lashley won the belt because he's the better man? Because he's the guy that deserves it in storyline right now?
Exactly. Shout out to Joe Punches. He thinks it's ballsy to put Lashley over Lesnar. I don't think so at all, because Brock Lesnar has admitted 1,000 times over he shows up for work, does what he's supposed to do, and goes home. He doesn't care about, you know, like, oh, I got to lose to Lashley. You know, this is a guy that is about the paycheck. Dude, so if there's anybody that's not going to bitch about it, it's probably Lesnar.
Right. Lesnar's look, at the end of the day, even though there's been a history there, Lesnar's a team player. Lesnar's going to do what the company needs at this point. He's not playing around like he did before. He's not, you know, contemplating jumping back and forth from UFC or the Minnesota Vikings or whatever else like that. You know, he's at the point of his career where he's here making a paycheck for himself and his family, and he's doing the right thing by the company. Lashley and Lesnar are going to look good together. I'm sorry. I just see that. And granted, you know, I mean, they're both great athletes. They're both big fucking guys. They're both MMA guys. I imagine those two having this match at WrestleMania, even being in the same ring, is going to be something special.
Yeah.
It's got to
happen. It's got to happen. What a way to come back with some fans in the midst of this COVID stuff. Now, Joe, with a little diversion. You know, Hurt Business, I think it was Lashley that said recently he wants Keith Lee in the Hurt Business. Any chance that Keith Lee joins the Hurt Business and Lashley kind of breaks out on his own?
That's far down the road. I don't see Lashley breaking away from the Hurt Business for a while, because the main thing that's going to keep Lashley in the Hurt Business, MVP. You would have to get rid of MVP and have Lashley on his own, and I'm sorry, I don't want to see that. Lashley needs MVP. He needs him.
I don't mean this racist in any way. I think my fans friends. I don't like using fans. We're friends. We're family. I think those who are black tuning in right now will understand what I mean when I say this. Any of you out there kind of like look at this? Yes, totally different athletes, without a doubt. But the way they dress, style and profile, just feel like a version of like the Black Horseman. Like if you added another guy and MVP was J.J. Dillon. I mean, I know Lashley is not, they don't wrestle the same, but you know what I'm saying? Like that classy group of four, you know, that just.
I can see where you're coming from.
You know what I mean? Like Lashley with the suits and just dapper and backing it up. And
I see it. I see what you're saying. I see where you're coming from, but I just thought it was black dudes who dress nice. I didn't immediately place the Horseman there. Yeah. I don't look at MVP and go, oh, that's J.J. Dillon. I don't look at Bobby Lashley and go, oh, he's the Ric Flair. Like, I don't see that comparison other than saying that they dress nice. That's really the only comparisons I see.
Yeah. I don't mean that in any negative way. I'm saying that just.
I know you do. I'm not saying that you do. I'm just saying if you compare the individual characters of the Horsemen, unless you're talking about the Mongo McMichael, Paul Roma, Chris Benoit Horseman, I don't know. But even that is just kind of offshooting. Other than them being a faction that likes to flaunt their money and show off that they look good, there's no real comparisons to the Horsemen that I get. Even the brotherhood between the Horsemen and the Hurt Business aren't the same. The way that Rick and Arn and Dylan were, it's a different feeling with those guys versus what MVP, Lashley, Shelton, and everybody else has over there. I'm not saying that they're not a strong stable either way, but other than the fact that they both dress well and they flaunt money, I don't see the comparisons.
Yeah. Very confident, very cocky. Yeah. You know, that they have a status, a stature, that they got to back up everything. Plus, they all have gold. MVP doesn't, but they all have gold. You know, we got heavyweight champion and the tag champions together. It's the only reason why I'm saying it. I'm not trying to mirror the careers in any way. By the way, since we were talking about, you know, Horseman and Crockett days, again, thank you, AS7607, for earlier. Hopefully, you know, how old is Jim Crockett Jr.? Anyone that wants to check that, please you don't have to super chat that, but I'm curious what his age is. He's got to be in his mid-70s.
76.
70, so yeah, that's why I figured mid-70s, 76. So, you know, look, 76, that's the age where you got to really start, you know, thinking. So I hope he's okay, seriously. One more thing. What is it? One more thing from SR John 07 about Lashley. DT and Miz, this win tonight reminded him of Goldberg versus Raven, except the fans didn't throw Miz back in the Lumberjacks. You know, that's pretty good because that was a major title win for Goldberg. Like, it was somebody that you just felt had the momentum and you wanted to see him go to the next level. And, you know, like Raven at that time, you weren't sure, you know, if there was going to be some bullshit interference or something. But I get where you're going with that. You know, just that feeling. I mean, he's not comparing the match or the characters. You know, Raven wasn't a chicken shit heel, but that feeling that you got this big man on the rise. And yeah, I will say this: Lashley has got tons of years under his belt, 15 years, and Goldberg only had what, one? So shouldn't have took this long for Lashley. Shouldn't have took this long.
Good things come to those who wait. I think Lashley is starting to really envelop as a character. You know, I think his matches are a lot better now. They're a lot better paced now. And I think there's something special about the guy that can be that icon for the future. Yeah.
By the way, Mish, you have any problem if I leave that up for the rest of the night?
No,
I'm kidding. By the way, everyone, if you're enjoying tonight's episode, I appreciate it. If you smash that like button, you know, that helps YouTube notice us a little bit more and maybe recommend the show to others. Much love. And if you're not aware of it, We just put this stuff on sale. New line, a lot of Mishvis and Donhead, Beavis and Butthead themes, little satire. There's a couple of different versions of it. I'm going to send you a whole box of goodies. So you got to let me know what you want. We got water bottles. We got shirts.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
So, something aside from that last one. Is it because I look at you over here? Is that why he said that? Because I have 3 monitors. So I have you live on this monitor over here. I have the YouTube monitor over here. And then I have my internet monitor over here with like the Discord chat and everything else. So when I'm looking around sometimes, and you can see it on the replay, I'm not just spacing out and going on the
no, you're looking at different, I know.
I'm looking at different monitors.
Yeah, I'm looking at, see, right now, you're on my right because I put the chat room right front and center. I used to have the chat room all the way in the left, and I would always look this way at everybody. Right. Now I put the chat room in the center, so everybody has my attention. That's why I'm a little quicker with super chats, by the way. And when I look at Mish, he's over here because my screen is 46 inches. So
I got you on the live screen here. I got you on the vMix over here. So the live DT is right there. The YouTube channel with everything else on it is right here. And then this is where I have everything else. So it's like I'm looking at 3 different monitors at the same time.
Yeah.
And the camera is in the middle. So
yeah. Let's talk about a few other moments from Raw tonight. As we said earlier, Nia Jax just squashed Naomi. I mean, let's just call it like it is. I don't know what the purpose of that was, especially with Fastlane. You would have expected some, nonsense. The only thing I'll say is WWE has moved on from my whole. I mean, Charlotte threw a face first, chest first into the guardrail, into the barricade. So it would have been interesting if she would have said, my tits, my tits. I don't know. I mean, they wouldn't say that on TV. What would she say? My front or my bosom. She got thrown chest first into the barricade. Yes. But I agree with you, man. Naomi's come a long way. For those that are newer to the shows here, when Naomi first was on TV and she was getting no crowd reaction, I did a really stupid spoof of her song. And when you would hear the music, I would say something like, I get no crowd, Papa, yay, yay, yay. I get no crowd, Papa. And she wouldn't. And, she did the glow, and then obviously a little bit of the Total Divas was nice. And she's really, really well liked. And she really puts in a lot of effort. I understand why Natty gets a little frustrated. At this stage in her career, I think she truly understands that, maybe the ship is sort of passed by already. But I don't want to look back at Naomi's career the same way that I look at Natty's. Like, Natty's had a legendary career, but they're doing this storyline that, they never got the attention, her and Tamina. And I don't want Naomi to get put in that category as well. Naomi's had some runs, and she's had some WrestleMania moments and Royal Rumble moments, but, I think at this point, she's just coming back from the injuries, but still, like, you look at her. I don't put her in the same category as Mandy Rose or Dana Brooke or others, but you could tell with those women. Dana Brooke, God bless her. I have nothing personal against her, but how many years is it? It's my time. It's my time now. It's my time. It was never her time, and now you're seeing it wasn't her time. Right. I don't want to start hearing Naomi say, "It's my time. It's my time now." She's a lot better than that, and I think the squash match tonight, I didn't think it was necessary. It's only one match, but I didn't think it was necessary.
I just don't think she's in the same level right now. Not saying that she can't be. I just don't think she is.
I agree. I'm writing notes for timestamps because I know a lot of you love the timestamps. So I'm just jotting down as we have a little discussions. Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. They have a match tonight. Now, for those that didn't see it, Braun Strowman came out pissed off, frustrated, not getting, opportunities, championship matches. Shane McMahon comes out with Adam Pearce, and basically he gives Braun Strowman a title match tonight, a tag title match. And I don't think it was wise for WWE to bring up tonight, the commentators, that he teamed up with a 10-year-old once before. But Shane puts a tag title match of Braun Strowman and Adam Pearce versus Cedric and Shelton. And the whole thing that's going through my mind was Adam Pearce not being able to take on Roman. So you knew some dumb shit was happening tonight. And basically, Braun early on is dominating the match. Shelton and Cedric get a little bit of the upper hand, but then Braun really dominates Shelton. And Shane McMahon insists that Braun tag in Adam Pearce. He tags him in, Adam Pearce gets rolled up. And Braun, is pissed off. And
you're forgetting a major part to this, though, because we have to explain it to the people that didn't watch. So the reason that this silliness in this match happened is because Shane is taking psychology classes or something on equality and what was the actual terminology that he used? It wasn't equality. It was I don't know. It was basically some psychological bullshit. And so in order for Braun to heal the wounds that he has with WWE management, Shane forced him into a match with Adam Pearce, taking on the tag team champions. And so Braun Strowman was dominating the match, like you said, but he was forced to tag Adam Pearce in because it's going to help him get over his issues with WWE management by trusting WWE management, aka Adam Pearce, to come into the ring and to help Braun Strowman, to which he got his ass handed to him, and that was the end of the match. So it's this weird thing in the background where Shane is already starting to play mind games with Braun Strowman, which isn't very hard to do. And I think that's where we're going with them.
That's my mood when I think of that. You see, a bunch of you were writing
conflict management.
Yeah, is he a heel or he's a babyface? I mean, Shane is pretty much responsible for Lashley winning tonight. That's supposed to be a good thing. But Shane fucking with Braun Strowman, that's supposed to be a bad thing. It's all to set up Shane versus Braun. Look, Shane McMahon doesn't disappoint me at WrestleMania matches. So you know what? I know a lot of you out there are going to say, oh, we don't want to see that. It makes no sense. It's going to suck. Oh, really? Really? We don't know. We don't know. I have no problem with it. Gives Braun Strowman a storyline for now. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. I'm not triggered. It's just, I don't know. I didn't like that at all. Something I did like this weekend. We're not going to talk about it yet. Once we finish the Raw recaps, I have the proper timestamp for it. We're going to talk about this. Have no worries. We will talk about that. I have it on the horizon. Yeah, let's talk about it. Kayla Braxton's in the back. I thought Kayla Braxton was SmackDown. Isn't Kayla Braxton SmackDown and Charlie Caruso Raw? I don't know, but Kayla Braxton's in the back. She's talking to Randy Orton. Randy Orton has no idea what happened last week, but he thinks Alexa had a part in it. You think? Anyway, they show a repeat of last week, and next Alexa Bliss is on the screen. And she's got like a little jack-in-the-box with the pentagram logo that people are still triggered over. And she says, bring it back. Bring it back. And then we see somebody show up with a hoodie. You couldn't see anything. Pulls the hood off. This is on a TV screen now. And it's Randy Orton. So Randy Orton is looking at Randy Orton. And the Randy Orton on the screen has like an evil look. If you notice, the RKO logo was blue instead of white. And he sounds demonic. And he issues Randy Orton a warning, starts laughing. And then Randy Orton, evil Randy Orton, which doesn't make sense because this Randy Orton set the Fiend on fire. So is this Randy Orton evil or is this one evil? I mean, the bottom line is that this Randy Orton is watching this Randy Orton gag. I'm just glad we didn't get any black goo again this week, other than a replay. But I mean, look, I before you say anything, you are 1,000% right. This is campy. It is hokey. It is meant to be that, and that's why we have no problem with it. I like it. And for people out there that are getting sick of this, 40 days. 40 days to WrestleMania. You figure 2 to 3 weeks minimum to hype up Orton versus The Fiend, which means that next week or the week after, or maybe the Raw right after Fastlane, that plot with The Fiend, that storyline will twist, and then you'll know The Fiend's coming back. Yeah. You're going to have to bear through this for 1 to 3 more weeks. Then the match will be set. Let it play out. You agree with that? Let it play out?
I don't know where they're going with this. I mean, if you're really paying attention to the storyline and what you see happening on the screen is what they're going with, there's going to be a match between Alexa Bliss and Randy Orton coming up at some point, and Randy Orton's just going to start kicking the shit out of Bliss. But they can't do that. So I'm not really sure what the payoff is. I'm assuming that Bray Wyatt is going to make a return at some point. But who knows? Because right now it looks like Randy Orton might be kicking the shit out of Randy Orton. Because I think tonight...
Could they do that? Cinematic match. Yeah. Cinematic match. Evil Randy versus evil Randy. Just evil versus not so evil. Oh, man. I don't know. I want to let it play out.
There's a lot of people that really fucking hate this, and I get it. I get why people hate this. But at the same point, I would rather have all the jokey eggs in this basket than see some other stupid wackiness that WWE and Vince come up with usually that's funny to no one. At least there's something unique about it, and there's a history between Bray and Randy Orton, so it's tolerable, at least to me. Just either enjoy it or skip it. You already know what's going to happen. You already have an idea.
One fall, they did not copy Ethan Page. Now, if, evil Randy Orton pulls out not so evil Randy Orton's heart, that's his heart. I got Ethan Page's heart, by the way.
Yes.
They have not done that. Just because they're the same person. Look, you could see where this is going. Pre-recorded special effects. WWE's $1 billion company. They've done movies. They got a couple of special effects people hired to make some really science fiction stuff with The Fiend. You might see like a pile of dust just turned into The Fiend. We have no idea what they have in store. One thing is for certain. I'll tell you the truth. I wouldn't be surprised if we see something get on fire and it turns into The Fiend, What was that stuff, Mish? Was it worms? Oh, my God. If anybody remembers this, I swear on my family. I have not thought about this since I was probably 12 years old. What was that stuff that you used to, light on fire or something and it would turn into worms?
Snakes.
Was that it?
They were called snakes. They were little black pills. You would light them on fire on the 4th of July, and they'd curl around. Yeah, they were called snakes.
I swear to God, I have not thought about that since I was a kid. We might see something where something is set on fire, and it turns into The Fiend. My God, snakes. How crazy. I swear, I'm blown away right now, everyone. I'm not kidding. I'm approaching my 50s. I have not thought about snakes since I was about 10 or 12 years old. How weird is that, man? That's weird. But I wouldn't be
Year.
surprised.
Yeah.
We're going to see some hocus pocus.
Oh, yeah. I mean, come on. They did let's not forget the illusion in the middle of the ring. Let's not forget when Randy Orton came down and all the snakes were following behind him and he turned the ring into, what was it, like spiders and stuff like that. Let's not forget the House of Horrors match. Horrors, not horrors. House of Horrors match. Randy's already been to that one, but the House of Horrors match where they did all sorts of spooky things. It's going to be a gimmick. It's going to be a gimmick all the way through. Alexa Bliss is going to be a part of it. If you hate this kind of stuff, if you hate the cinematic matches, you're not going to like this. So, you know what I mean? It's like zip on. There's your piss break match of Mania. That's what it is.
I think this is going to be awesome, man. Seriously, look.
Cinematic stuff. Dude, I loved Undertaker versus AJ, but there was a lot of people that hated Undertaker versus AJ. A lot of people hated the Bray Wyatt versus John Cena.
Bray Wyatt versus John Cena was my favorite part of Mania. AJ and Undertaker was a close second.
I loved that. So
you know why I liked Bray versus Cena more? The psychological factor of it. The psychological. Right. I mean, Undertaker looked awesome. They made him look like $1 million, and I remember we all said it, that if that's his last match and he goes out in the sunset, couldn't have been better. And that's what it ended up being. But I think back to Mania of last year, and I say this. If they put that much work and effort into what they did with Fiend and Cena, I could only imagine what they're thinking of doing this year. And I liked so I'm willing to wait and let's see where it goes from here. We'll see where it goes from here. What else do we get tonight? We got Elias losing to Damian Priest. That match went a lot longer than I expected it to be.
Yeah. But like I said, I think they're trying to set something up there. Elias taking shots at Bad Bunny's career and Damian Priest getting involved and Ryker on the outside. There was something to that. I think they were just trying to sow some oats. You know what I mean?
Can I ask you a question? How do you say no in Spanish?
No.
So when Elias pitched the idea of them working together and Bad Bunny goes to Damian Priest and Bad Bunny's like, and then Damian Priest says no. I said to myself, wait a minute. I know that I've gone up to Spanish girls when I was a lot younger, and I'm like, hey, you want to go get a drink? And I honestly don't remember them saying, no, I remember them saying, no.
Tell that piece of shit to take his response and shove it up his ass.
No.
And he could have been nice and he said no.
No.
You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily mean that he was giving you a Kaientai version of the language.
I know.
Yeah.
Look, like I said, you and I have no problem with Bad Bunny being 24/7 champion. But as we said earlier tonight, it's turning a little goofy because suddenly Tozawa's taking a shit. Gulak is buying ice cream outside. Nobody is chasing Bad Bunny for that title because they don't want Bad Bunny in those comedy segments. I mean, that's what it is. But
he seems like he's a funny looking guy. He seems like he's lighthearted enough. You think he'd have fun in those segments.
Look, I say this, and I've said this before. I don't like his music. I will admit that I never heard of him before he did anything in WWE. But when you find out that he's a lifelong wrestling fan, that he's training at the Performance Center to take bumps, not just give them, that the guy is showing up week after week after week. And yes, he's getting paid, a decent check from WWE, but the guy doesn't feel like a Raw guest host. And for anybody out there that's newer also, the one thing that we hated about the Raw guest hosts more than anything else, it wasn't about them plugging their upcoming movie or whatever it was. It was the ad-libbing that people would do, and go into business for themselves. They weren't trying to screw over WWE in any way. But when you got like Jericho supposed to come out and confront, I don't remember who it was. It wasn't Bob Barker, but I remember Jericho coming out once and he was supposed to have a back and forth with someone, and this person you could see was adding lines to it, like almost like they were taking the insults personally. And a lot of Raw guest hosts would do that. They would add additional lines, like when the music hits, you're supposed to shut the fuck up. And the music would hit. Oh, what do you have to say? Shut up. Like they would add. So it doesn't feel that way with Bad Bunny. It feels like the guy is taking this with respect.
What was the basketball player on Raw?
Shaq.
With the Miz. Who was it?
Shaq.
No. On Raw, not on AEW. On Raw, he was in the ring, and he started going into business for himself on the microphone. He was there with his son. And the money guy. The money guy. Right. Oh, balling. He had the bowling gear. Yeah. Ooh, LeVar Ball. Oh, yeah. Ooh, LeVar Ball. Seriously. That's literally a guy who took the script, threw the whole script away, and went into business for himself.
LeVar Ballis. That guy, assholes. WWE should never, ever bring him back. Seriously, you know what I would do? I would invite him to Thunderdome, and the minute when he thinks he's on the screen, he cuts off or something. Gets disconnected. The Big Baller brand. What a you know what? I'll say this. That guy got a boatload of publicity off a Big Baller brand, and I don't know whatever happened to it, but you got to give credit for somebody who hustles that strong. Makes their shit look like $1 trillion when it's worth a bag of beans.
Yeah.
Oh, LeVar Ball. Seriously. Who is the worst guest host that you hated the most? For me, it was always Al Sharpton, but you know what? I actually put LeVar Ball, because Al Sharpton tried to be nice. LeVar Ball, I think, was the worst.
Yeah, no, he was in it for himself. He didn't give a shit about the storyline. He didn't give a shit about the Miz. He was just there to plug his shit. Yeah. Everybody else be damned.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad.
LeVar Ball. Oh, no, Mike Austin, we're not ripping his kids. His kids, some of them play good ball. Good for them. Yeah, I'm not. No, Ken Jeong was awesome, man. Ken Jeong, if anybody, when I finally get a chance to put archives back on a new server, I had an erection when Ken Jeong got dropped on his head. Was that him? No. Ken Jeong? Didn't he get dropped on his head and he was holding his head? And you know what? When Umaga beat up the guys from Jackass, Steve-O and the other guy, Umaga beat the shit out of them. Steve-O did an interview about that. You got to go check it out if you've never seen it.
I really couldn't stand, and everybody tried to put them over like they were funny. The Three Stooges.
Oh, yeah.
That was just horrendous.
This is timestamp worthy, so that's why I'm doing this. This is timestamp worthy.
The Three Stooges, when they came out there, they're doing their whole shtick, and it's like it's land, and everybody in the audience is quiet, and they're doing like almost like the Rodney Dangerfield, like, oh, it's a tough crowd over here, and they start smacking each other around. And it was just painful. It was absolutely painful to watch. You're watching three men die on stage is what it was. It was just really bad.
It broke my heart when Don Johnson did the guest host. It broke my heart. I had a man crush on Don Johnson when I was young. Anybody that's out there ever seen my pictures of me from the 80s? I tried to dress like Don Johnson. I just didn't have the physique of Don Johnson. I had the physique of maybe the alligator, but he was horrible. The Muppets. What's that Muppet that was with Sheamus? What's that? Beaker? Yeah. Oh, my God, seriously. The Muppets, man. I wonder if they're going to put a disclaimer before that Raw episode from now on. Like,
what was that one dude that was just irritating? He would interrupt matches and promos. What was it, MacGruber?
MacGruber, yeah, MacGruber. MacGruber. Oh, my God. So some of those Raw guest hosts were horrible, man. They were freaking Angry Cat. You know what? Angry Cat was just being a cat. Well, it really wasn't his fault. You know what, Scorpio 1117? I don't want to ruin it for those that didn't see this. But you know what? I actually liked Kevin Federline. And remember, he came out with Morrison.
Right.
I think he came out with Miz and Morrison. The reason why I liked Kevin Federline, only because when he beat Cena, and I always remember this, and I have the podcast episode of me covering this. And if anybody goes on that Video Motion, whatever it is, Daily Motion, I don't remember what it's called, but if you look it up, you'll see it. You got to watch the original airing. After he beat Cena, he tossed a couple of hundreds on the floor. Just tossed them around Cena to like, obviously that wasn't part of the script, but he just thrown the money on the floor. WWE cut that scene out for several years. When you went and watched the replays, that part of it was cut out. After a bunch of years, they put it back in. But when he dropped that money on the floor and you could tell that that wasn't planned, I was like, all right, because a lot of us weren't really into Cena at that time. I mean, yeah, he made Cena look like trash, I don't know. I kind of like when Kevin Federline did that. In fact, you go and check out the History Show episode of that week. I covered it in detail. I even think I played the audio, and you'll hear me giving it some praise. We're giving some praise. Oh, we got another guest host. Dream 101.
Austin brought up, what about Kathy Lee Gifford and Hoda?
I didn't mind Kathy Lee Gifford.
Really?
She didn't know what to do over there. She
did not belong there, dude. Neither of them did.
You know what? She had a lot of wrestlers on Regis and Kathy Lee from WCW, WWF. I mean, they had a lot of wrestlers on. So that's why I kind of gave it a pass, because that show would always take the opportunity and plug some wrestling here and there. I really didn't have a problem with that one. Peppy Leaks. Are you talking about Mimi Leaks? What is the Leaks? She was on like the Real Housewives of something. Peppy Leaks sounds wrong to me. Isn't it like Mimi Leaks or something like that?
Sure.
I don't know. I think someone in the chat room. I think everybody froze right now like, no, we don't want to talk about that person. I don't know. The chat room froze. I hope it did. We didn't get any disconnecting. Oh, Nene Leaks. Thank you. Nene Leaks. BP Leaks. Nene Leaks was horrible too. Didn't she come out in sweatpants?
I don't even remember.
She fucking came out in like gray sweatpants, if I remember correctly. I was like, are you even going to dress up for the occasion? It looked like she was just like in her, like, I don't know, in like her hotel room, like laying down eating food, and like, oh, you got to be out there in 2 minutes.
Yeah,
I got to take a Mimi Leaks in a few minutes, so we got to start wrapping this up. Charlotte comes out, challenges Asuka for WrestleMania. You could hear everybody online whining. Like I said, I really think Rhea Ripley is a lock to be in that match. But they replayed that Asuka legitimately had a tooth knocked out last week. Can't blame it on Nia. But so Asuka was off this week. We find out Charlotte's taking on Shayna Baszler tonight. She comes out with Nia, a little bit insulting Charlotte. They start beating up on Charlotte. End result is Charlotte beats Shayna Baszler. That was pretty much that match. I mean, there really wasn't much to write home about that. It's just, I don't know. I definitely feel Charlotte is needed in that match. I know there's a lot of people out there that can't stand Charlotte anymore, but you could see they've dropped that storyline with Ric Flair. Ric Flair went home, which is good. But next week or the week after, you're going to see Rhea Ripley come out. And I think she's going to be put into this as well. So
makes sense. I mean, I can see it. It's probably the match that most people want to see. I mean, even people that don't want Charlotte there would like to see Rhea get comeuppance against Charlotte. So it makes no sense.
Yeah. What match are we forget? Oh, Riddle and the Lucha House Party beat Retribution, minus Mustafa Ali. They lose again, and you could see the split coming. Ali starts berating his guys, and he starts calling out Riddle. And basically Ali tells his crew, you want to see how it's done? Just watch me. And he challenges Riddle, and then we go to commercial break. We come back, and we have a match with Riddle versus Ali. Now, Riddle had just won, teaming up with the Lucha House Party, beating Retribution. Now we get a one-on-one, and the end of the match was pretty much botched. Mace pretty much distracted Riddle, and I guess Ali tried to do like a double knee strike, and it just looked messy. And Ali gets a win on, the United States champion. I mean, I don't know what this does. I don't know if Riddle versus Ali is something that I would like to see. I don't know.
Doesn't it feel like that's going to be the match that ultimately Ali fails against Riddle? And instead of Retribution kicking the living shit out of Matt Riddle, they're going to kick the shit out of Ali. I don't know. I already see that. I'm not sure if that's where it's going to go, but it makes sense because he's going to have his title shot, and he's going to lose his title shot because of his own accord, and he's going to blame his team for something, and they're going to come out there and they're going to kick the shit out of him instead of kicking the shit out of Riddle. I don't know.
What if they just walk off on him?
That could work too, but I'd like to see. Okay, in my heart, I would like to see Ali get the shit kicked out of him. In my heart. But you're right. They could just leave too. That's fine.
I think leaving is more important. You know why? You picture Slapjack, Mace, and T-Bar putting their hands on Ali, it would be a massacre. I mean, just look at the size difference, and now you got three guys. Ali would have to get destroyed, and the problem is you don't have live fans there to pop. And fans are so against Retribution. I don't even think if you were at Thunderdome and Adam Pearce is in the mic telling everybody in Thunderdome, all right, everybody cheer, cheer, cheer. I think some people would be like, what? Yeah, put that in the thing. Seriously.
What are you talking about? They don't have to cheer. Just hit a button. That's all it is.
Yeah. But, when they sometimes hit those buttons, that's why Elias didn't keep repeating, what does WWE stand for? Because they would have to keep pressing the same sound bar over and over again, and you could see the fans didn't give a shit about it. Right. But I think Ali starts like maybe ordering them around ringside, do this, do that, do this, and they're like, you know what? And they walk out. And Ali's like, where are you going? And then maybe Riddle rolls him up. Maybe that's where they're going with it. So, main event tonight, Lashley versus Miz. Now, as we've been saying all throughout the show, they were setting up all night long. It was supposed to be Lashley and Miz at the 9 o'clock hour. But Miz had stomach pains, which was kind of funny because we talked about it and joked last week about Cesaro having stomach cramps right before the Elimination Chamber match. So Miz can't perform at 9. Lashley's in the ring. He gets pissed. He goes to the back and he grabs Miz by the neck. The match is changed to 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, Lashley's in the ring. Miz comes out there, and as soon as the bell rings, Miz runs away. Runs away, gets into a car, speeds away. And Lashley is irate, pissed off. You even hear Lashley say shit right when it counted to 10, when they counted Miz out. And then backstage, you got MVP yelling at Shane, saying this is bullshit. And the end result is that Shane McMahon, is he a heel or is he a face? Makes the ultimatum that if Miz doesn't come back and defend the championship, he's going to strip Miz and hand the title over to Lashley. So this forces Miz to come back, and Miz is pissed off at Shane, giving all the reasons why he should represent WWE as the champion, media, Hollywood, and you need someone to do this interview. But the match goes on, and Shane McMahon Is he a heel or is he a face? Decides he's going to bring out lumberjacks. And as we said earlier, the entire locker room comes out. And again, it looked goofy to see Retribution right next to the Lucha House Party and Riddle and seeing some others out there. But Lashley beats the balls off of Miz. Miz tries to use the title. Ref catches him. Miz gets tossed out a couple of times. You know, Retribution, I don't know what they were doing. They were like, we don't want to be involved in this, you know. But I think it was Drew Gulak that threw Miz back in the ring the last time. And Lashley puts the hurt lock on Miz. Miz taps out. And again, I see the net lighting up. And like I said, people tonight were ecstatic, not because Miz lost, but because Lashley has won. WWE, in a lot of storylines, in a lot of pushes, in a lot of what you've seen on TV during the last 12 months with COVID, there's been a lot of disdain. Despite the circumstances, it's still a form of entertainment. And if entertainment sucks more than it's good, you can't just keep saying, oh, well, it's COVID, so I got to like it anyway. You know, it's not like, you know, you're desperate for food and you pull a hamburger out of a garbage can that's half eaten and it's like, well, you know what? We're in the middle of COVID and this is what we have to make the best of. It wasn't that desperate. They have a crazy ass roster. The only thing you don't have is live fans there. But tonight, they gave it to us. Lashley wins the title. And then to add some extra measure to it, Lashley puts the hurt lock back onto Miz and puts the finishing touch. But no Drew McIntyre. Not one of the lumberjacks. Did not get involved, which I found interesting. I didn't expect him out there. But you can't help but to think, like, in storyline, wouldn't Drew McIntyre want to get his hands on Lashley for making him lose a championship?
Right.
But not much to add on what we said earlier, other than that really good episode of Raw as far as how they built up that main event. And you know what was great about it? Nobody bitched that it was only about 5 minutes. The main event was only about 5-6 minutes. You know, I don't think it needed to go any longer than that. I don't think we needed a 20-minute back and forth.
No, we did.
So, but that was your episode of Raw. That was your episode of Raw. Soulfly saying that Drew McIntyre said Bobby deserves the belt after the show. Okay. I don't know if I would say that. What do you think about that? Drew McIntyre after, I don't know if it was that.
That's smart. That's actually really, really stupid of him to say.
Yeah, storyline or not. That shouldn't have been said.
I mean, if he said, yeah, he shouldn't have been saying that at all. That's a really, if he said that, that's stupid as fuck. That's stupid as fuck because there's a lot of people that still want him in the running for the title. There's a lot of people that are expecting him to be in a title match, perhaps at Mania. So for him to go, no, this guy's a better champion than I am.
I don't know if he said that, but I agree with you. I mean, does Drew McIntyre, the person, believe and feel that Lashley deserved to get it? Absolutely. But we're in a storyline to build to WrestleMania. Right. You don't blow your fucking load. Dude, I hate to say this, kayfabe for a little bit longer. After WrestleMania, when he still holds the title, then you say, the better man won. The better man won. But now, dude, really? You're still in the running. Like, what the fuck? That's just stupid. Yeah. If you want to say that during media, WrestleMania weekend, and you want to give some props and respect, absolutely. But to do it a week after you lost the title and you just cut a promo, I'm talking just storyline right now. I'm not talking about Drew McIntyre, the person.
Yeah, no, we're all talking storyline. I'm not talking about the person. These guys are probably congratulating the shit out of him backstage.
Yeah. They're going out to eat tonight.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
So, well, great episode of Raw. You know, it had some of its caca moments, but I tell you, overall, you know, I think people will agree it was very well done because of the result. If they would have done all this tonight with a bullshit finish that would have left to Fastlane, I don't think we would have criticized The Miz. The Miz would have done his spot perfectly. I think people would have just been pissed off at WWE, like, you know, you hooked us so much and you don't deliver in the end. You gotta still have that trust factor with what you're watching, that they're not gonna troll you every single time. And I'm telling you, I'm really curious to see what the ratings are gonna be. I would love to see that they maintain their audience throughout the entire night. That would be phenomenal. But I do know that there's enough people online that just felt like, all right, what bullshit finish are we getting tonight? You know, is Morrison going to cause the DQ? Is somebody going to show up? You know, I think that's what a lot of people were fearing, and we didn't get that, which is good.
Yep, very good.
Yeah, with that, we want to just get into one last thing before we go. Nice positive this weekend at Gallows Promotion. They had an event this weekend, and Enzo was on the card, and sure enough, Big Cass showed up as well. If you look at the pictures side by side of him when he was in WWE and now, he looks a lot more jacked. He definitely put on a lot more muscle, looked great. And I know everybody online is focused on how he looks. I'm happy he looks that good, because I remember the last time we saw him on the indie, he had like a gut to himself and it looked like he just wasn't into it. So I'm hoping, seriously, as good as he looked in that picture, I hope he is as good upstairs. I hope he's in a good place emotionally as well, because that man was dealing with a lot of depression and a lot of, and again, depression, like I've talked about before, we talked about with Lars and others, it comes in all shapes and sizes. Just because you look like you're a monster and you're a tough guy doesn't mean that you are emotionally. So I hope he's in a good place up here. So what'd you think when you saw that this weekend with him?
It was nice. It was nice to see him back in action, and I look forward to it. I've always been a huge Enzo and Cass fan, to the point where, we rallied behind him during some of the darkest moments in his career. And we still stand by that, and I still stand by that. And I think it's a shame that he's been off of TV for so long. I think the guy was beyond talented. I think both guys together had something very special, and for it to be removed on the way it was a crime. And the fact that he might have a chance back to come back, that he might have a chance to become a regular on TV again is phenomenal. And I understand that he did take time out to do his own thing, to, get into the music game, to do some things that he wanted to do on his own time. And that's completely fair. But at the same time, I missed them. I missed both of them. I thought they were great.
The obvious question I got to ask you before we end the show, and I know everybody's going to ask this as well. Do you think they go back to WWE? Or let me rephrase that. You think WWE will take them back?
I would love to believe that's a possibility. I think that if anybody's been proven innocent, it was Enzo. But I don't know. He had other things on that list that WWE didn't approve of. There were other things that they didn't like about Enzo. So Cass, on the other hand, I see no reason why they wouldn't take him back, but you almost have to take him back as a duo. Because Cass by himself is not going to make any big waves. And it's not an insult to Cass. Cass completes Enzo. Enzo is a star, but Enzo isn't a shining star without Cass. So
I think they go back to WWE at some point. You look at Enzo the last couple of years, I don't know the guy personally. I mean, I was absolutely floored with the congrats that he sent my way, thanks to a special someone, for getting engaged. I still have that. A lot of you that have never seen it. Maybe I'll play it Thursday. But I'll say this. The perception, to me, over the last couple of years is that Enzo has grown up. You don't hear, COVID and no COVID, you don't hear the crazy shit with him anymore. If anything, I see him always visiting sick kids and always doing little things to make people happy. And to me, there's a different vibe with Enzo. It seems like as he's gotten older, I think he's gotten a little bit more serious. And I think that party aspect of him, I think that is kind of gone away a little bit. So I think at some point they will be back in WWE. I truly believe that. My last question to you is, since they may not go back to WWE anytime soon, do you think AEW picks them up?
Maybe. I don't know. Probably. Seems like they're willing to hire anybody these days, so sure. Why not?
Well, I think there would be a nice plus to the roster. I don't think they're just like hand-me-downs. You know?
You don't want me to get started on that.
I know what you're going to say. They don't seem to fit into the AEW machine.
No, not that at all. Actually, I think that they absolutely fit into the AEW machine. It's just, let's take a look at what the machine's been doing lately with a lot of the higher talent that they have. I look at FTR. The last 6 months, they've done nothing. Mm-hmm. So that's why I say I don't know if they fit in. There's a lot of other people that have signed up with the AEW machine and have done nothing. I would be afraid of Enzo and Cass going to AEW and ending up doing nothing. That's why I say, for these guys, I think they would be better off in WWE. I would love to see it, but make that money. Wherever money sends you, make that money. Get back on television, do your thing, cater to the fans, have some great matches, cut some great promos, make that money. That's all that matters.
If this was a year ago, I would say they probably would have been better off in AEW because it would have been a much lighter schedule, no touring. I think the vibe, the atmosphere would have felt a lot better. I think, but now a year later, like I said, I think FTR is the one I've been talking about more than anything. FTR is that one team that it just feels like, all right, tag team of the year, great tag title run. Now we got to give it to our boys. And once they gave the belts to the Young Bucks, FTR is pretty much amounted to nothing. And that's not their fault. But I see where you're going with that. I actually agree with you. I cannot disagree with you. You're right on that one. So with that said, we are done. Fun Raw tonight. Fun show tonight. Definitely loved it. So, yeah, we'll be on Patreon tomorrow. And, we'll pick up where I leave off.
Absolutely. Well, with that said, I guess that's pretty much for me. We're still doing the mini-sodes for Frank and Gus. Obviously, you guys can check out Monday's show. I got tomorrow's show with Andrew Carluck from False Count Radio and the original Wrestling Soup co-host. And then Wednesday, Joe and myself are back for another mini-sode. Thursday is Wrestling Soup. And Friday, we might have an interview. So we'll see how that plans out. I know we were trying to get Candice Michelle for the last week or so. That's still on the plate. I'll say that. So we'll see where it goes from there. But much love to everybody. Thank you very much for supporting Wrestling Soup. And, of course, continue to support us here at Breakfast Soup and on Patreon as well. So
tell Andrew I said hello.
I will.
I met him that one time. And, I know he and I have never really clicked. But, I know he's a good guy. So tell him I said hi.
Yeah. I will.
All right.
Peace.
Wrestling Soup, everybody. WrestlingSoup.com, Patreon.com/Wrestling Soup. And for those that don't know, they do a show pretty much every day now. They do mini-sodes called Frank and Gus. And then Thursday is the full course of Wrestling Soup. So you could go check it out, their schedule. I know they do the Frank and Gus's in the afternoons on a lot of days. But for everyone out there, if you want to join us on Patreon tomorrow, patreon.com/Don Tony, you get 8 Patreon exclusive shows a month at minimum. You also get ad-free episodes of all the non-Patreon shows. We do predictions contests, a few other Q&As and stuff. And by the way, this Thursday, I know a few of our great members here on YouTube have seen it already. This Thursday, I honestly think I have an absolute treat for all of you out there. I started pulling the archives of yours truly, doing the wrestling stuff, the managing stuff, and I pulled something out. There's been a short version of it floating around YouTube for the last 13 years, but there's a bathroom promo involved, and there's an extended match. I know some of you have seen it. Austin Nance, you've seen it. Austin, you're in the chat room right now. Just type, how much did you like that? So Thursday, when we do the next AMA, I am going to play that in its entirety. It's about 13, 14 minutes long totally. I will tell you that it is politically incorrect. There is blood. There is vulgar language. There are some adult, at least one adult object used, and it's hilarious. It's hilarious. I was going to show, me bringing out Abdullah the Butcher, that one, but we're going to save that one for a couple of weeks from now. So this Thursday, you'll see that. We'll do another giveaway of Who Am I. Last Thursday was a hell of a lot of fun. We did the big show in Hornswoggle, and I was shocked how long that contest went on. I thought somebody was going to answer it like this. But before I go, as always, I would greatly appreciate it. We got to put the little special effect. Hit that like button, subscribe. This way you're notified of whenever we do future shows and clips, and I am going to be doing that more in the near future. If you've noticed, we've upped the game in the production department. We've upped the game in some of the content, and now we're going to start working on individual little clips here and there. And that's pretty much it. Janelle, you got kicked out of the stream. That had to have been your computer, because we have not blocked, removed, or banned anyone in a very long time. So, but I hope you all enjoyed it, and definitely post your comments. I am going to put all these timestamps up after I put the shows online tonight, and tomorrow I'll chat with some of you out there. So anyway, have a great night. Stay safe. We're still in the middle of COVID. I think, what are they calling it? Freedom Day? Is that what it's called? My Freedom Day is Thursday, by the way. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, that apparently when you get both COVID injections, 2 weeks after the second injection, you're supposed to be fully immune to this. Like, if you're exposed to COVID, that your body is so prepared for it that maybe you get a little sniffles, but your body kicks its ass. And as long as you have no major symptoms, you don't have to quarantine or anything like that. And so fly. I got the 1 month badge as well. We got Donio, Green Donio. But so Thursday will be officially 2 weeks since I had my second shot. So it's supposed to be my Freedom Day. Yes, I still wash my hands. Yes, still sanitize. We're not out of the woods yet. But I'm telling you, everyone, remember when I said this, I'm not a doctor, but I really believe this. By May or June, you're going to see so much shit getting back to normal. It's going to take years to recover financially. It's going to take years to get COVID out of here 100%. But I truly believe if you figure out Johnson & Johnson in 2 days, those vaccines are going to be available. By May or June, stick it out to May or June. when we get into the summer months, 4th of July and everything, I'm telling you, we're all going to be hanging out and partying and barbecuing. And hey, if you're on the Northeast, you might even see yours truly managing a couple of wrestling events. So, yeah. Everyone have a great night. Much love as always. I'm going to jet out of here, and I will catch you either on Patreon tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern is when we start. If not, join me here Wednesday night, 10:05 p.m. Eastern, right after AEW and NXT. AEW, big week. NXT, women's tag title match, which will be fun, but I think we kind of know what the outcome will be. And, I will tell you this. Shaq, Jade Cargill, Red Velvet, Cody, expect that to be novelty. I think some people are investing too much emotion in that match. It's going to be more of a novelty match, gaga, than anything else. I think Red Velvet and Jade Cargill are going to be the focus of this, and probably should. We'll also have those Eliminator finals, so we'll talk about that Wednesday. And got a few other things going on. As far as Tully Blanchard wrestling again, don't expect too much. Be prepared if a lot of what Tully does is with Marco stunt. Do not be surprised if you see that. I don't want anybody investing too much in that, because you're going to be very disappointed if you think you're going to see something more than what we just talked about. But I think Wednesday's going to be a fun night. And you want to know something? As far as the wind, here, let me see if you can hear this. Hang on a sec. Before I disconnect, because it's been windy like crazy. I just heard it. Give it a couple of seconds. If it doesn't do it, then we'll just disconnect the show. I have had so much crazy-ass wind here. Before we went live, I told Mish, I said, I'm kind of a little worried we might disconnect because I'm having insane wind over here right now. I don't know why. I don't hear it. All right. It comes and it goes. But, yeah, I can't wait. Wednesday, I get Verizon Fios. Oh, let's see. I don't know if you can hear it. Hold on. I kind of hear it coming. No. We'll let it go. So we got the whole show in. I'm going to jet out of here. And it figures I take the mic away. Now I start to hear the wind. But all right, everyone. Toronto, it's windy. New York, it's windy. So I'm not farting on the mic. So bye, everybody. Have a great night.